What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. In today's video, we're going to be taking things on a different route compared to the last video that I uploaded. We're actually going to be talking about the Sugofest batch themselves. So we have Bartolomeo and Cavendish finally being announced here on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. This is definitely a Sugofest that a lot of people were predicting to come out, and now we have it here in-game as full confirmation. So, Bartolomeo and Cavendish, very, very good characters. Personally myself, I haven't read through what the batch units do themselves for a very long time, so this is kind of going to be a pretty interesting experience for both of us to go through. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's jump into it. Now, this is probably going to take a long time to discuss all these new characters, so let's go ahead, let's just jump into it. So first character we're going to talk about is Sai. So Sai is a Sai unit, driven fighter character, and that's a theme you guys are going to be seeing in this batch, is that a lot, if not all, the characters are driven based units. So this is a batch solely dedicated to buffing the driven class. So if any of you guys out there that are driven, you know, favorable in any way, then this is going to be a great batch for you. So let's go ahead and talk about Sai. So Sai, obviously, stats looking okay, I would say. Captain ability is going to boost driven characters' attack by approximately 2.75 times when they have a matching orb, 1.5 times otherwise, and a 1.25 times health boost. Pretty terrible captain ability. His special ability after limit break maxes all the way down to 12 turns, and he'll go ahead and reduce enemies, or not enemies, but your crew's burn, bind, and despair duration by 3 turns, so very good utility there. Also reduces enemies' attack up and enrage and resilience by 3 turns. Okay, that's also very, very good, especially the resilience. Removing enemies' attack up and enrage isn't that important, but to remove the resilience is a very, very key component there. And also drastically reduces the defense of all enemies for 1 turn. When it says drastically, that usually ranges anywhere between 70 to 80% defense reduction, so very, very good, allowing you to get, you know, defense conditional boosts to activate. And also makes driven characters type slots have matching slot effects for 1 turn. So strength, dex, quick sign, int orbs are beneficial to your driven characters for 1 turn. Sai is a very nice utility based unit. I don't think you'll see like an amazing amount of play. He is a good rare recruit, but I just don't think he's like overly amazing, like a must have rare recruit, but he does seem very, very good. Now, in terms of his crewmate abilities, he's going to boost driven characters base attack by 50, which is okay, and also makes characters recovery and tandem slots have matching slot effects. So he himself will treat recovery in tandem as beneficial. And his support ability, supporting a lot of different characters, Chinjao, Dagama, Abdullah Ranjit, Olumbas, Blue Gilly, Suleiman, Cavendish, Ideo, Elizabella, and Harden, is going to add 12% of his base HP and recovery to the supported character. So he doesn't even add attack, man. That's kind of lame. Man, Sai overall seems reasonably disappointing, in my opinion. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next character. So moving on from Sai, the next character is going to be Elizabello. So Elizabello is an int character, and he is a driven fighter. His captain ability is going to boost driven characters' attack after each turn of a maximum of 3.25 times attack after 20 turns. So it seems like he is a similar type of ability to like version 1 Kuzan, where every time you killed something, you got a small attack stack. But here, it looks like you start off with like no attack, and then every single turn you get slightly more attack just by itself without having to do anything. It's not a very good captain ability overall. And it says heals crew by 500 HP at the end of each turn. Yeah, not a very good captain ability. His special ability though, 13 turns after limit break. Yes, after limit break it's 13 turns. Reduces all enemies' damage reduction and threshold damage reduction duration by 3 turns. Very, very good though. You know, this is a theme that I just saw with Sai as well. He only removes those buffs or debuffs by 3 turns. Typically, you know, a lot of enemies nowadays are getting 4 or 5 turns of these, you know, debuffs inflicted to your crew or buffs on the enemy side of the field. If they would have removed it by 5 turns, I think these characters were like, you know, hands down, some of the best rare recruits you should have. 3 turns is, you know, a stock standard, I would say. 3 turn reduction is fine. He also locks your crew slots for 1 turn. You don't see that too often these days, so that's fine. And if there are enemies with defense up, defense down, doubles crew's slot effects for 1 turn. Okay, that's very, very intriguing. Obviously, if you use Sai, you can reduce the enemy's defense, which can then allow you to get this effect to activate. So greatly boost driven and fighter character slot effects otherwise for 3 turns. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So if you have the enemy that has defense up or defense down, then you get a 2 times orb boost for your whole team. And then if you do not have the defense up or defense down on the enemy, you get just a 1.75 times orb boost to driven and fighter for 3 turns. He looks really, really good. In my opinion, I think this guy is going to see more play compared to Donsai, but you know, we'll see how it goes. He does seem reasonably good. His crewmate ability, he gets an additional 150 attack if he's the last character to attack in the chain. And his secondary one will make driven characters in slots have matching slot effects. Yeah, he's fantastic. Allowing you to get more beneficial orbs as a crewmate is always a very useful asset to have on your units. Now, to finish off Elizabello, his support ability to a lot of different characters once again. Chinjiao, Dagama, Abdulranji, Olumbus, Bluegilli, Suleiman, Cavendish, Sai, Ideo, Harden. He's going to add 7% of his base attack to that character. And looking at his stats, he has a lot of HP. 3000 HP on a regular rare recruit is pretty high, and 1500 attack is, you know, pretty much stock standard nowadays, so not too shabby for Elizabello. So now moving on, the next one we're talking about is Harden. Now, I know for sure that this character is really, really good. So here we have Harden, a quick-driven powerhouse character. His captain ability is going to boost driven and powerhouse characters' attack by 3.25, but reduces your attack and HP by a small amount every single turn. So not a very good captain effect at all. 12-turn cooldown, though, after limit break. His special is going to reduce the crew's bind and paralysis and decrease chain multiplier growth rate by 4 turns, so off the bat, great utility. Also reduces driven and powerhouse character special charge time by 1 turn. Special cooldown reductions, always really nice to have. And if your captain is driven or powerhouse, boost damage to delayed enemies by 1.75 times for 2 turns. Now, immediately off the bat, when you look at him, the thing about this guy that I really, really like is he's not really restricted to driven teams specifically. You can actually use him on powerhouse teams, and a character that can fit very, very well with a character such as Sanji and Judge, V2 Katakuri, you know, Legend Cracker if you have him. You know, there's so many different options for a guy like this, which I really, really enjoy. Now, there is one downside here, is that he is a conditional booster for delayed enemies. Now, more often than not, delay immunity is more common compared to the poison immunity or the defense down immunity. So, you know, it is kind of annoying, but still, either way, delay conditional boost is always going to be nice to have whenever you can go ahead and apply that. But the fact that he also does give you special charge time reduction as well as bind, paralysis, and decreased chain multiplier reduction by 4 turns, very, very useful to have. In terms of his crewmate abilities, he's going to boost the base stats of Driven and Powerhouse by 30, and also will go ahead and double the damage dealt in normal attacks to Dex enemies for himself, meaning that as a sub or as a crewmate, he has no weaknesses. He can attack for everyone for at least neutral damage, which is always nice to have. And he also has a support ability, once again, supporting Chinjiao, Dagama, Abdulranji, Olumbus, Bluegilli, Suleiman, Cavendish, Sai, Ideo, Elizabello, adding 9% of his base attack and HP to that character, over 3,200 health, and nearly 1,600 attack. Those are some wild, wild stats for Harden. I think he's a pretty cool character. Again, like these characters in these batches don't seem extremely impressive. They just seem kind of like your regular run-of-the-mill rare recruits that fit really well with the new legend. So far, I'm not really too impressed overall about these characters, but let's go ahead and move on to the final character, which is Ideo. So Ideo is going to be a strength-driven fighter character. His captain ability is going to reduce the charge time by 1 turn at the start, and then boost driven and fighter characters' attack by 2.5, and also boost his own attack by 2.75. It looks like that's what it was. Boost driven and fighter characters attack by 2.5, boost characters attack by 2.75. Yeah, so he boosts his own attack by 2.75, you know, kind of like a Cavendish style effect where he boosts his own attack a little bit more than the rest of the crew. Now, his special 13-turn cooldown is going to delay all enemies by 2 turns, so obviously works very, very well with the Harden. And it says, if your captain is a Dex or an Int type character, changes block, empty, and G orbs into matching for those characters, and set your chain multiplier to 2.75 for 3 turns. Automatically, that is very, very powerful to have. just having a Dex or an Int captain, and what is he? He's a driven fighter. So you can actually use him still with V2 Doflamingo, which is really good. Obviously still works with Barto and Cavendish. In terms of Int characters, I can't really think off the top of my head of too many Int characters you could really use him with. Well, you could actually still use him with V2 Akainu because he is a strength unit and would fit on that team really, really well. So yeah, you could definitely still use him with V2 Akainu. So that's his first effect. Then it says if your captain, instead of being Dex or Int, is either Quick or Psi, he changes Recovery, Tandem, and Bomb Orbs into matching and gives you a 3x chain lock for 1 turn. Dude, I think Ideo is the best of the batch, by far. The fact that you are able to get the guaranteed delay no matter what, but then you're able to get reasonable orb manipulation, as well as getting, a chain lock as well. And you could potentially get a chain lock for multiple turns. Multiple turn chain lockers that are reasonable are very, very hard to come by. There are only like a very, very few amount of characters that allow you to get multiple turn chain locks. And this is a character that can do that, which is really, really nice. His Crewmate ability will go ahead and make his own quick orbs have matching slot effects, and his other one will reduce character's special bind duration by 3 turns. Dude, he can even reduce his own special bind duration. That's so good. Dude, I think Ideo is easily the best of the batch. Easily. His support ability, again, to a whole bunch of characters, adds 15% of his base HP. That's not that great, unfortunately. He probably has the worst of the Crewmate abilities, the worst of the Sailor abilities, support abilities, out of all the characters, which is unfortunate. But his special and his, reduced special bind Sailor ability are fantastic. So very, very good rare recruit to have. And now let's move on to the boys themselves, Bartolomeo and Cavendish. So here is their unevolved artwork, because I know a lot of people really enjoy this one. I think it's a really cool idea, the way that they did their unevolved artwork. But in terms of their evolved artwork, boom, here we go, there we go. There's their evolved artwork for Bartolomeo and Cavendish. As a combined unit, they are a driven slasher character. But first of all, I want to talk about each of their singular units. So here we have Bartolomeo as a driven striker, and Barto is a Dex character. Now, Barto's captain ability is going to boost driven characters' attack by 3.25 and reduce damage taken by 25% in that turn that he did not attack. So this is pretty cool, actually. It's very reminiscent of his original version 1 Bartolomeo, where he would give an attack boost, and then if Barto doesn't attack, he gives you a very, very sizable damage reduction effect. And they kind of just applied the same thing here, just with switching out the fact that he is no longer a striker captain, he is now a driven-based captain. So that's pretty fair, honestly. And then moving on to Cavendish, Cavendish's captain ability is going to boost driven characters' attack by 3.25, which was the same as Barto, but instead of giving damage reduction if he doesn't attack, he will go ahead and boost his own attack by 3.75. So again, Cavendish is one of those units that's very, very self-sufficient and very self-centered, really. I guess self-centered is the right word, where he focuses more on himself, allowing him to get more attack for himself, which is pretty stock standard stuff that you would see from a regular Cavendish character. Now, before we talk about their combined captain ability, I want to talk about their swap effect. So their switch effect is very, very good. I would argue that this is probably the best switch effect in the entire game for the amount of things that it can do. So first of all, changes character slot to their own type. So whichever one you switch into, you're guaranteed to get a matching orb. Also, boosts own slot effects by 1.5 times for 1 turn. So hypothetically, in this situation, if you have your own captain Barto and Cavendish and a friend captain Barto and Cavendish, if you switch with your friend captain, then that friend captain will get a 1.5 times orb boost just for themselves. So this is really cool, right? Because they get their own guaranteed orb, they also will get the guaranteed 1.5 times orb boost, and they'll fully abuse that, which is nice. Then heals 5% of your crew's max HP. Yes, you get 5% HP recovered every single turn, no matter what. And now this actually works if you have double Barto and Cavendish. You can do 2 switches, get 5% recovery, and then another 5% recovery. And then on top of that, when you do switch as well, you reduce damage taken by 25% for 1 turn. So you get 25% damage reduction, 5% healing, your own orb matching, and also a 1.5 times orb boost to himself. Dude, like, woo! This guy is stacked. He is stacked with a very good captain ability to boost driven teams, as well as really nice ability to tank damage, dude. Like, there's not much wrong with this character. I think they built him about as good as what they possibly could. He is just exceptional. Now, In order to become the dual unit, you need to activate their special ability. So you can see here, their special maxes at 15 turns, and it will go ahead and deal 75 times their attack in typeless damage to all enemies. Now, they have very, very good stats, so that's going to deal massive amounts of damage towards the enemy. And then also, on top of doing that AoE damage, massively reduces a portion of each enemy's dealt damage that exceeds 5,000 for one turn. So this is a very similar effect to the raid Barto, right? Where he gives your team like a damage threshold, where if they deal over a certain amount of damage, it gets cut by a huge margin. So this allows you to pretty much tank any death hit in the game, hoping that your HP is high enough, of course. So they get massive amount of AoE damage and really good survivability. And then on top of that, boosts driven characters' attack by 2.25 for one turn. So they're crew's own type booster. Like, this character is so good. And then also become the dual unit for 3 turns. Like, oh, dude, this unit is so well built. Now, obviously, it's only for the driven class, which is the only downfall to this character, in my personal opinion, is that you are restricted to using driven characters. But, you know, at least with their captain abilities, like V2 Doflamingo, you don't specifically need 6 driven characters on your team in order to use Bartolomeo and Cavendish. So that's kind of a good thing that you can look at here. But overall, you can't go past it, man. This character's just so good. Now, talking about their combined captain ability, they're going to be a 4.25 times driven attack boosting captain. On top of being that, they also will make strength, quick, and dex orbs beneficial to driven characters, and also reduce damage taken by 25%. Yeah, this character's very good. This character is awesome. For a 4.25 captain, more beneficial orbs, 25% damage reduction. Obviously, if you switch before you activate the special, you then get the 25% damage reduction from the switch effect as well. You get the healing from their switch effect as well. You get an orb boost from their switch effect as well. Dude, this unit is awesome. In terms of their crewmate abilities, first one is 100 base HP and attack to driven characters. That is humongous. And also give themselves 250 attack when they're the last to attack. When they are the solo units, do they get different abilities? No, it looks like it's more of the same. Yeah, it's more of the same when they do their switch, but that's it, guys. That's the full rundown of all the new characters arriving in the Bartolomeo and Cavendish Sugo Fest. Overall, Ideo is the best rare recruit, no doubt. Ideo is the best one, and then the other ones, you got Harden, Elizabello, Donsai, they're just okay. And then you have this guy right here, who is obviously the main target. He's so powerful. I didn't even have a look. Does he completely get rid of slot bind? And he completely gets rid of slot bind when you max out his potential ability. Yeah, this guy's really good. He is easily tier 1, definitely tier 1. Is he tier 0? I don't know. That's something for me to figure out for the next tier list. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, though. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.